It is late, and the conversation has been over for hours. But in your mind, it is happening again. You hear the sentence you should not have said. You see the expression on their face. You rewrite your answer. This time, you are calmer. This time, you explain yourself perfectly. This time, they understand your intention, admit their part, and leave you with a clean verdict. Then the scene begins again. Nothing outside the room has changed. No new evidence has arrived. No new responsibility has appeared. Yet, your mind has opened a second trial, and you are serving as the accused, the lawyer, the witness, and the judge. This can happen after an argument, a breakup, a mistake at work, an awkward conversation, a missed opportunity, or a decision that disappointed someone. The event may have lasted 5 minutes. The replay can occupy 5 days. The painful part is not only remembering. Memory is natural. The painful part is believing that another pass through the scene will finally give you control over something that is already complete. Perhaps you will find the perfect explanation. Perhaps you will prove that you were not wrong. Perhaps you will discover exactly what they meant. Perhaps you will punish yourself enough to become innocent. Perhaps you will edit the past until the present stops feeling uncertain. But a finished event cannot receive a better performance. It can only give you information for the performance that comes next. That is the movement of this reflection, not from memory to forgetting, and not from regret to indifference. It is a movement from replay to responsibility. You will learn how to tell useful reflection from mental repetition, how to repair what can still be repaired, how to close questions that have no available answer, and how to return your attention to the only place where a character can still act. The past may remain part of your story. It does not have to remain the manager of your next hour. Not every return to the past is unhealthy or useless. Reflection is one of the ways human beings learn. A careful review can show you that you interrupted someone, ignored a warning, acted from fear, accepted treatment you should have challenged, or made a decision without enough information. Without reflection, experience remains experience. It does not become wisdom. The question is not whether you think about what happened. The question is what the thinking produces. Useful reflection produces one of 4 things: a lesson, a repair, a decision, or a next action. Lesson sounds like this. Next time, I will ask the question before making the assumption. A repair sounds like this. I spoke unfairly and I need to apologize without defending the behavior. A decision sounds like this. I will not continue conversations after they become insulting. A next action sounds like this. Tomorrow I will clarify the deadline in writing. Replay produces something different. It reproduces the emotional temperature of the event. You feel the shame again, the anger again, the panic again, but no new duty becomes visible. The scene gains detail, while your life loses movement. Use a simple test. After 10 minutes of thinking, can you write one sentence that changes your conduct? If yes, write it and act on it. If no, you may not be solving the event. You may be asking the event to solve an emotion. This distinction matters because people often call rumination responsibility. They say, I have to keep thinking about it because I care. I have to understand every detail so I never make the mistake again. I cannot let myself move on too easily. But responsibility is not measured by how long you suffer. It is measured by the accuracy of what you own and the quality of what you do next. You do not become more honest by repeating the same accusation after the lesson is clear. You do not become more caring by reopening a conversation in your imagination after every available repair has been made. You do not protect the future by abandoning the present. Reflection turns backward in order to move forward. Replay turns backward and stays there. Rumination often survives because it has been given an impossible job. The mind may be trying to make uncertainty disappear. It wants to know exactly what another person thought, whether the decision was completely right, whether a different sentence would have changed everything, or whether the worst interpretation of the event is true. These questions feel important because they are emotionally charged. But importance does not make an answer available. You can spend hours asking what they really meant. If they have not told you honestly, the answer is not inside the replay. You can spend nights imagining the path you did not choose. That path cannot provide evidence because you never lived it. You can rehearse the apology you wish you had received. The rehearsal cannot place the words in another person's mouth. The mind then makes a dangerous bargain. If certainty is unavailable, more thinking must be required. But sometimes, more thinking is not the path to certainty. It is the symptom of certainty being impossible. Name the impossible job directly. Are you trying to make everybody agree with your decision? Are you trying to prove that you were entirely innocent? Are you trying to discover an alternate history in which nobody was hurt? Are you trying to guarantee that the mistake will never happen again? Are you trying to know what another person believes without asking them or without trusting their answer? An impossible demand can keep a solvable part of the problem hidden. You may not be able to know whether they still judge you, but you can decide whether your conduct now deserves your respect. You may not be able to undo the insult, but you can apologize and change the way you speak under pressure. You may not be able to recover the lost opportunity, but you can stop delaying the next available one. The past becomes especially powerful when you ask it for something it cannot give. Do not demand certainty from memory. Demand instruction. Do not ask the finished scene to change. Ask what the scene requires from you now. The Stoic distinction of control is often reduced to a slogan, control what you can and ignore the rest. The actual practice is more demanding. It asks you to identify what belongs to your judgment and conduct with precision. Epictetus begins the Enchiridion by separating what is within our agency from what is not. The past event is no longer within your agency. The reputation formed by another person is not fully within your agency. The outcome that would have followed a different choice is not available for inspection. But your present judgment of the event is still being formed. Your next action is still open. Your willingness to repair is still yours. Your habit of attention is still being trained. This means Stoic acceptance is not passive. If you caused harm, acceptance does not say, the past is outside my control, so nothing matters. It says, the act cannot be removed, so responsibility must take a present form. Apologize. Restore what can be restored. Correct the system that made the mistake likely. Accept a fair consequence. Become more trustworthy through conduct. If you were harmed, acceptance does not say, the event is only your judgment, so tolerate it. It says, the event happened and you cannot make it unhappen. You can still protect access, seek support, document what matters, leave a dangerous situation, or refuse to let one person's conduct define every future relationship. The control distinction does not erase facts, it locates work. Ask 2 questions. What is no longer available to change? What remains available to practice? The first question prevents fantasy. The second prevents helplessness. Your mind may resist this because imagination feels larger than one modest action. In imagination, you can rewrite years. In reality, perhaps you can only send one honest message. Keep one boundary, finish one task, or decline to reopen one argument tonight. But character is not built in the size of the imagined correction. It is built in the accuracy of the available action. When a memory keeps returning, do not debate it without structure. Put it through a 4-column replay audit. The first column is fact. Write only what a camera or reliable record could support. I missed the deadline. They ended the call after I raised my voice. I said yes and later became resentful. The relationship ended in March. The message received no reply. Facts are usually shorter than the story surrounding them. The second column is remaining duty. What still belongs to you now? I need to apologize for the tone. I need to deliver the work. I need to return the property. I need to stop sending messages. I need to ask for clarification once. I need to seek appropriate professional advice. The third column is impossible demand. Name what the replay is secretly trying to obtain. I want them to admit I was right. I want to know what would have happened. I want everybody to approve of my choice. I want to erase the embarrassment. I want to guarantee that I will never repeat the mistake. The fourth column is next visible action. Make it small enough to happen. Draft the apology. Put the appointment on the calendar. Delete the unsent argument. Write the boundary in one sentence. Return to the work for 20 minutes. Go to sleep without checking the message again. This audit separates moral work from emotional bargaining. The fact keeps you honest. The remaining duty keeps you responsible. The impossible demand reveals why the loop has no natural ending. The next visible action returns authority to the present. Do not turn the audit into another ritual of endless analysis. Complete it once for the event. Update it only when new evidence changes a fact or creates a new responsibility. That leads to a useful rule. No new evidence, no new trial. Familiar discomfort is not new evidence. A lonely evening is not new evidence. Somebody's delayed reply is not automatically new evidence. The return of shame is not proof that the lesson was incomplete. Reopen the case for facts, not for weather. Some memories continue because a real responsibility remains unfinished. Perhaps you owe an apology. Perhaps you left confusion that can still be clarified. Perhaps you need to replace something, repay money, correct a statement, or acknowledge a promise you broke. In that case, do not use philosophy to escape repair. A clear repair has 4 parts. Name the act, name its effect, state what you will do. And do not demand immediate relief from the person you harmed. For example, I interrupted and dismissed what you were saying. I made the conversation unfair. I am sorry. Next time, I will pause and ask before responding. Notice what is absent. There is no long account of your stress. No request that they quickly tell you that you are a good person. No hidden pressure for forgiveness. An apology is not a purchase of innocence. After a sincere repair, you must tolerate what remains outside your control. They may accept it, they may need time, they may not trust the change yet. They may decide that the relationship cannot continue. This is where overexplaining often enters. You feel the discomfort of being seen badly, so you add context, then more context, then another message. The repair slowly becomes a campaign to manage their reaction. Say enough to take responsibility, then let changed conduct carry the rest. If the repair is impossible because the person is unavailable, unsafe to contact, or no longer alive, responsibility can still become conduct. Write the apology without sending it. Make restitution where appropriate. Change the pattern in the relationships that remain. Seek guidance when the situation involves legal, financial, safety, or serious ethical obligations. You cannot always repair the original scene. You can refuse to reproduce it. One of the cruelest forms of replay is judging your past self with information that only your present self possesses. You say, "I should have known." Sometimes you should have. The warning was clear, and you ignored it. Honesty requires that possibility. But sometimes you did not know because the evidence had not appeared. The skill had not been learned, the pattern had not repeated, or fear had narrowed your judgment. Present knowledge can make the past look obvious when it was not obvious from inside the moment. Use a fairer question. What could I reasonably have known then, and what am I responsible for knowing now? This question does not excuse carelessness. It prevents hindsight from pretending to be foresight. Your past self does not need a brilliant speech from the future. Your present self needs a standard. If you ignored discomfort to preserve approval, the standard may be, "I will not say yes while planning to resent the person later." If you stayed silent while a boundary was crossed, the standard may be, "I will name the first clear violation instead of waiting for the 10th. If you acted impulsively, the standard may be, "No important message while emotionally flooded." If you trusted someone who deceived you, the standard is not, "Trust nobody." It may be, "Trust will grow with consistent evidence rather than urgency." Self-punishment often feels like proof that you have changed. It is not proof. A changed pattern is proof. You do not honor the lesson by keeping the wound open. You honor it by becoming the person who can carry the lesson without needing the wound to bleed every night. Many replays are conversations that never reached the ending you wanted. You were misunderstood. They left before you answered. You froze. You found the right words 2 days later, or you explained yourself repeatedly and still did not receive recognition. Ask whether the conversation is practically unfinished or emotionally unfinished. A practically unfinished conversation has a real next step. A decision needs to be communicated. A question needs one answer. A shared responsibility needs an agreement. If communication is safe and appropriate, speak clearly. An emotionally unfinished conversation often has no sentence that can guarantee the desired result. You want them to understand in exactly the right way? You want them to admit the motive you believe they had? You want the final word to produce respect? That ending is not yours to manufacture. Before contacting someone again, ask 3 questions. Is there new information? Is there a practical responsibility? Is there one clear request the other person can actually answer? If the answer to all 3 is no, another message may be an attempt to reduce discomfort rather than improve reality. Write the speech if you need to see it, then remove every sentence designed only to control the verdict. What remains may be a useful message, or nothing may remain. Silence is not always wisdom, and speaking is not always courage. The standard is whether the action serves truth, fairness, responsibility, and the life you are trying to build. You are allowed to let a conversation be incomplete in another person's mind. Completion does not require universal agreement. Sometimes it is simply the moment your conduct stops waiting for a verdict that was never yours to command. If the mind believes it may review the event at any hour, it will interrupt every hour. Give reflection a border. Choose a short review period, perhaps 15 minutes in the afternoon. During that time, use the 4 columns. Write the fact, remaining duty, impossible demand, and next visible action. When the period ends, act on the visible action or schedule it. When the memory returns later, do not argue with it. Say, this has a place, and this is not the time. This is not suppression. You are not pretending the thought does not exist. You are refusing to let it choose every appointment on your calendar. At the next review, ask whether anything new has appeared. If not, do not produce a new essay. Read the existing conclusion. You can also use a closing sentence. Keep it factual and modest. I have taken the available responsibility. I do not have the answer I keep demanding. I will not solve this by repeating it tonight. The sentence is not magic. The thought may return. The practice is the return of attention after the thought arrives. Measure success accurately. Success is not never remembering. Success is noticing the replay sooner, refusing one unnecessary pass, and returning to the present with less negotiation. A disciplined mind is not a silent mind. It is a mind that can receive an impression without being indefinitely governed by it. Rumination is not interrupted only by a better argument. Sometimes the mind has already reached its useful conclusion, but the body remains activated and attention needs a physical route home. Begin with orientation. Name where you are. Notice the actual room, the hour, the temperature, and the task in front of you. The memory is occurring now, but the event is not occurring now. Then choose one bounded action. Wash the cup, walk around the block, organize the next 10 minutes of work. Prepare tomorrow's clothes. Read one page slowly. Call someone for ordinary company rather than another prosecution of the past. The action should not be dramatic. Its purpose is to re-establish contact with reality. Avoid turning busyness into permanent escape. If a repair or decision is required, complete it. But after useful reflection has done its work, ordinary action is not avoidance. It is participation in the life that still exists. Protect the conditions that make replays louder. Exhaustion, isolation, unstructured late-night scrolling, and repeated checking can make familiar thoughts feel like urgent discoveries. This does not mean every difficult thought is caused by poor habits. It means judgment deserves conditions in which it can function. Return to food, sleep, movement, work, and reliable people. Not because routine erases grief, but because a life with structure gives memory a place smaller than the whole day. The present is not a motivational idea. It is the location of your hands, your obligations, your choices, and the person beside you now. Come back through something concrete. Use the next task rule when the replay arrives during work. Do not ask yourself to recover the entire day. Identify the smallest complete unit in front of you. Answer one necessary email. Wash one plate, read one paragraph, or prepare one document. Set a brief period and give that unit undivided attention. When the mind returns to the old scene, notice it and return to the same unit without beginning a debate. This trains a different response from force. You are not trying to defeat the thought. You are teaching attention that a thought can be present without becoming the day's assignment. At night, the next task may simply be sleep. Write any genuine duty for tomorrow, place it where you will see it, and stop asking an exhausted mind to issue a reliable verdict. Fatigue often makes familiar uncertainty feel like new evidence. Mourning does not change the past, but it can improve the quality of the judgment you bring to what remains. The memory will probably return. This does not mean the method failed. Old scenes can be activated by a street, a date, a song, a similar conflict, or a quiet hour. The first appearance of a thought is not always voluntary. What you practice is the relationship that follows. Use a three-step response. First, name it. This is the old replay. Second, check it. Is there new evidence or a new responsibility? Third, direct it. If yes, use the audit. If no, return to the next chosen action. Do not add a second problem by becoming angry that the memory appeared. A thought returning is not the same as you returning to the old life. Some days, the emotional force will be stronger. You may need support, rest, writing, prayer, or a longer walk. You may need to speak with a qualified professional, especially when repetitive thoughts are severe, intrusive, connected to trauma, depression, anxiety, obsessive-compulsive symptoms, or interfere significantly with daily life. A philosophical reflection is not a diagnosis or a substitute for care. Strength is not refusing help. Stoic self-government includes using available resources wisely. The aim is not to become invulnerable to memory. It is to become less available for memory's commands. You can feel regret without performing another trial. You can remember harm without reopening access. You can miss someone without contacting them. You can feel embarrassed without writing a new identity from one moment. The memory is information about your history. It is not automatically instruction for your next move. There is a subtle point where learning becomes attachment. You keep telling the story because it taught you so much. You analyze the pattern because you never want to forget. You organize your identity around the person who hurt you or the mistake that changed you. The lesson may be real, but if every new relationship must pass through the old story, the past is still governing the room. A lesson should become a standard, not a shrine. The standard might be honesty before resentment, evidence before trust, pause before reaction. One clear explanation instead of 10 anxious defenses. Repair without self-erasure, boundaries without revenge. Once the standard is living in your conduct, you do not need to continuously reopen its origin. This is how experience becomes character. The event becomes less central because its wisdom has moved into your habits. Ask, what do I know now that my calendar, conversations, and decisions can prove? If you say you learned to protect your time, where is the protected hour? If you learned not to over-explain, where is the clear sentence that ends without a courtroom speech? If you learned to trust your judgment, where is the decision you kept even while someone disagreed? If you learned to apologize, where is the changed behavior after the apology? Make the lesson visible in the present. Then allow the story to become quieter. Wisdom does not need constant pain to remain valid. Rumination weakens self-trust because it keeps asking the past to issue a final verdict. Rebuild self-trust with present evidence. Choose one small promise each day that is entirely within your conduct. I will begin the task at 9. I will not send the message tonight. I will tell the truth without adding a false excuse. I will leave the conversation if insults begin. I will make the appointment I have delayed, but then keep the promise. Self-trust does not arrive because you finally discover a perfect interpretation of what happened. It grows because your present actions become predictable to you. This also changes the meaning of regret. Regret says, I wish I had acted differently. Practice answers, then act differently where the choice still exists. You cannot prove that the old decision would have worked under different conditions. You can make the next decision with better standards. You cannot force another person to revise their opinion of you. You can become more honest, more restrained, and more reliable whether they notice or not. At the end of the week, ask 3 questions. What did the past teach me? What repair did I complete? What did I do this week that the old loop would have delayed? The third answer matters. It reveals that life is no longer waiting for the trial to end. Maybe you finished work. You rested. You had a conversation without rehearsing it afterward. You said no once. You enjoyed an evening without checking whether someone had changed their mind. These acts are quiet. They are also the evidence that freedom is becoming practical. Return to the scene you keep replaying. Do not enter it as a lawyer this time. Enter as a witness who has one responsibility: to report what the present still needs. What is the fact? What duty remains? What impossible answer have you been demanding? What is the next visible action? Take the lesson, make the repair, keep the boundary, ask the answerable question, then stop holding a second trial without new evidence. You do not need to declare that the event was good. You do not need to forgive on a schedule, deny grief, or pretend the consequence disappeared. Acceptance is simply the refusal to make reality negotiate with your preferred history. The event happened, its meaning is still being shaped by the person you become after it. The Stoic task is not to gain control over yesterday. It is to stop surrendering today's judgment to yesterday's unfinished emotion. Let memory visit without giving it the keys. Let regret instruct without becoming your identity. Let responsibility be precise enough to end self-punishment and strong enough to require change. The past becomes history when it no longer needs to be performed every night. You remember, you understand what is yours. You act where action remains possible. And then you return to the life that is still asking something from you now. If what you keep replaying is the moment someone disapproved, misunderstood you, or reacted badly to a decision you still believe was right, the weight of their reaction offers a practical, stoic way to stop over-explaining and trust your judgment again. You can find the guide through the link in the description.